This is a Fanatik First Look at the new Santa Cruz Nomad 7. Now, Santa Cruz didn't completely reinvent the Nomad 7, but they did make some meaningful changes to how it rides.
Oh, that's off the trail.
It's still a 170 travel bike with mixed wheels, the same idea as before, but more compliant and more composed out on the trail. So let's dive into the details on the new Nomad 7. And there's my doggy. So let's start with frame details. First up is a brand new V2 glove box. That's their in-frame storage system. They've redone this door to have a more robust latch, and it's going to be sealed up better, so no leaking and no rattling. They also have added accessory mounts to the bottom of the top tube. Honestly, it feels like those should have been there before, but they finally added it, and that's really nice to see. Next up, we're talking the carbon on these frames. So with the previous generation Nomad and a lot of other Santa Cruz bikes, they had a C and a CC carbon frame, with the CC being the higher quality carbon. On the new Nomad 7, there is only one carbon layup. It's CC for everybody. One of the reasons that Santa Cruz had the C and the CC frames was on the higher quality CC frames, they didn't have cable routing, and that kind of caused some drama on the internet. Luckily for us, on all Nomad models, you will have cable routing so you can run mechanical derailleurs on any of these bikes. Santa Cruz is also continuing their lifetime warranty on all of their carbon frames and lifetime warranty on the bearings in their VPP linkage. One thing that I really like about VPP bikes is there are no bearings in the frame itself. They're all housed in these metal links. So that makes it easier when you're at home trying to swap those bearings and pull them out. You're not worried about damaging your carbon frame. Do you want to be on the internet? Guess what? You're in the way of this beautiful bike. You gotta move. Santa Cruz also has size-specific rear ends on all of the Nomads, so you'll get that consistent feel throughout the entire size range. We love to see that. People on the internet love that. Santa Cruz is doing what the people have asked for. And then the last thing that you will find in the linkage on these bikes is a high-low flip chip so that you can slightly modify the geometry on this bike. So let's get into what is happening with the geo on this bike. Geometry-wise, there isn't a huge departure on the Nomad 7 compared to the previous gen Nomad 6, just some small refinements. They've tweaked the geometry to be closer in line with their Bullet e-bike, so that means a slightly slacker head tube angle and a steeper seat tube angle. And that steeper seat tube angle is a big one on this bike and something I really like. The rest of the geometry stays pretty in line with the Nomad 6, so reach numbers stay the same and the rest of the overall geometry is the same. Next up is the kinematics on this bike, so let's get into that. A hallmark of Santa Cruz bikes and VPP bikes specifically is their high anti-squat numbers. On the previous generation Nomad 6, their anti-squat was really high, sitting at about 150% at the beginning. And that was great, makes for an efficient pedaler, but when you get into technical climbing, that can make for a kind of harsh feeling. So on the Nomad 7, what they did is actually reduce that anti-squat number to be more in line with what they did on their current Bronson, because it actually softens things up for when you are in that technical terrain, hitting square edges, just makes for a more compliant, comfortable ride. And when you are in that technical climbing, you do actually want your suspension moving and you want some traction. So they lowered that number on the Nomad 7. Still pedals great, but when you get in technical terrain, it's gonna give you more grip than the previous generation. They have also reduced the anti-rise on these bikes, which means under braking, you're gonna have more traction on these bikes, which is great for confidence in that steep terrain you might get yourself into on a bike like this. The leverage curve on these bikes is still fairly linear, but then it has some nice ramp up right there at the end to keep you from any harsh bottom outs. Just a slight refinement on the kinematics of this bike, overall just to keep you more composed, having more fun, but at the same time, they didn't give away any of those like great pedaling characteristics that Santa Cruz bikes are known for. Next up is the weight on these bikes. As we mentioned, it is now CC carbon for everything, which means these are lighter. It's actually lighter than the previous generation CC Nomad frames and definitely significantly lighter than the previous gen C frames. Another great thing with that lighter carbon is it is going to make for a slightly more compliant bike. You know, sometimes too stiff of a carbon makes for a harsh ride, but they've really optimized it on the Nomad to give you a nice compliant ride, which is the talk of the town these days, compliance. The ride feel on this bike. So let's start with climbing. As I mentioned, VPP bikes in Santa Cruz, that high anti-squat number, they do pedal really well. And I definitely noticed that on the Nomad 7. It's still a 170 bike, so you're not gonna be racing anybody up the hill, but it pedals really efficiently, gonna get you up to the top so you can have the descent where you're gonna have the most fun. Big thing is that seat tube angle. Riding this one compared to the previous generation, you're in a much more comfortable pedaling position. You don't feel as stretched out. And that was the first thing I noticed on this Nomad when climbing. Descending, that's why you're gonna buy a Nomad. It's the big travel mixed wheel bike. It's for going downhill fast. You know, you've got that great traction under braking with the lower anti-rise number. The geometry is really comfortable, nice slack head tube, so when you get into steeper terrain. And then that mixed wheel, definitely really fun out back. You can just throw this thing around in corners and have a good old time. So ride feel on the new Santa Cruz Nomad, the 5 or 6 days that I've been able to spend on it and get this first ride impressions, I like it a lot, and they made some great improvements when comparing it to the Nomad 6. So who is the Nomad for? The Nomad has always been that big long travel bike in the Santa Cruz lineup. With it having the mixed wheels, it's definitely a bike that wants to have some fun, really tuck into corners. Shroud it, bro. This is for the person who's trying to ride steep, rough, rowdy terrain, but also wants to have some fun doing that. This is a bike that you can tuck into the corners, have a lot of fun, but the bike also climbs really well, having that VPP suspension. So I think if you're somebody that's gonna have one bike in your quiver, you know, you wanna go to the bike park, you wanna ride rowdy terrain, but you also like to pedal and you like to have fun, go hit some jumps, jib around, throw this thing, you know, throw some shapes. That is definitely who the Nomad 7 is for. So we're really excited to see the new Nomad 7. Happy that we got to spend a few days on it before its release. We will have these available in our custom bike builder at fanatikbike.com. If you have any questions, want to build one of these up or any Santa Cruz bike, give us a call or email us at sales@fanatikbike.com. If you like watching this content, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Hit us with any questions in the comments, and we are going to go ride this bike. So we will see you next time.